Hi, I'm Nancy, and we are going to find meaning in the ancient world. Trust me, I'm the doctor. Growing old sucks. There's no getting around it. Now, there are a lot of things that are great about age. Don't get me wrong. We get wiser, we engage in less drama, hopefully. We figure out our priorities. We've been around the block a few times and we've sown some oats. We've challenged ourselves. We have overcome some serious obstacles. We smile knowingly and perhaps a little condescendingly when young people complain bitterly, perhaps even crying about something that won't matter in 2 days, much less 2 years. But you ache. You don't learn things as quickly as you used to. Eating is sometimes more of an adventure than you anticipated, and losing weight is an uphill war against a slowing metabolism. I have learned so much, and there is so much yet to learn and understand, but I can't remember what that was. And I've been sitting in a weird position now for more than 10 minutes, and now my hip is screaming at me. I need coffee and a small, modest donut. But no nuts. I can't handle nuts. Oh, screw the donut. Bring me Alfredo sauce and white bread and the donut and make it big. If only we could live forever. That would be amazing, right? We wouldn't age, we wouldn't hurt, we wouldn't even slow down. Booyah! Only not. If we dig a little deeper, it turns out it's not that great of an idea. Now, I know what you're thinking. She's totally going to talk about vampires. Yeah. Well, yes, I am. But we're not going to review the typical mythology. And we're going to look at another story about the quest for eternal life that was foiled, that goes way back before the vampire Lestat or even Vlad the Impaler. Yeah, modern ideas about living forever go way back before writing, even. I'm not talking about people being gods either, like the pharaohs, and I'm not talking about eternal life in an afterlife of some kind. I'm talking about the dream of material life here on earth, non-divine immortality, and how it would, in fact, suck. I keep saying, and will say over and over again to you, the ancient people were really smart. Sometimes we don't understand them, but that's more about us than it is about them. It's about our ignorance. And no, aliens did not build the pyramids or the Sphinx or anything else. But back to our incredible ancient insight. So, one of the first things written down once they figured out writing were receipts. Of course, because it's always about money. It always comes back to money. But the next thing they wrote down were actually religious texts, because it also always comes back to religion. It always has. My point is that the Epic of Gilgamesh goes back to some of our earliest texts written down, and he's got something to tell us. Gilgamesh was 2/3 divine. I don't know what happened to make that possible. I'll leave that to your imagination. Despite being majority divine, he was mortal. He was going to die. He was also a lousy king that nobody liked. He was rude, he was crude, he was mean, and his people hated him. So the gods, in all their wisdom, gave him something to do. And a friend, fortunately. Alas, his bestie Enkidu dies, and Gilgamesh is wrecked. And he does not want to die. He's afraid of dying. He couldn't bring himself to bury Enkidu and watched him decay until, and I quote, A maggot fell out of his nose. That's disgusting. He ends up in a bar, like you do, and the barkeeper tells him, basically, to get over it. Death is a part of living. So wash your damn hair, put on a clean shirt, and have a little fun. Oh, and hug your wife and be nice to your kids. What does Gilgamesh do? He does what any hero would do. He goes searching for the cure for mortality. So he goes in search of the only human who is actually immortal, a guy named, well, wait for it, Utnapishtim. I know, the names are wacky. This guy is kind of like Noah. He survived a big flood, and it's very impressive. So he eventually finds the immortal man, and although he had planned to fight for the secret, he's freaking tired by the time he finds this guy, Utnapishtim, and he's tired from saying the name. So anyway, he goes up to the guy and asks him for the secret, and Utnapishtim reveals the secret of the gods to Gilgamesh. There is a plant at the bottom of the Apsu, the fresh water, that is surrounded by thorns. But if you can get your hand through the thorns and snatch it, it will give you your youth. So Gilgamesh does what any hero would do in this story. He goes down to the bottom of the Apsu, possibly a lake or a river. It's very, very deep. But not being entirely trusting, when he finally does get his hand through the thorns and grabs the plant, he goes back up to the top and he says, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to go home and I'm going to find an old guy and I'm going to make him eat some of it and see what happens. Fair enough. You do a little experiment on your people, like you do, because you're a king. So in the process of going home, because it's kind of far away, he takes a break. He stops for a bath in a lovely spring. Unfortunately, while he's bathing, a snake comes along because it smelled the plant, and the snake ate it. As the snake slithers away, it sheds its skin. The point? Immortality is not for mortal people, even if they are 2/3 divine. This is not our fate. But why? This is where we come to vampires. One of the most common threads in vampire stories is their general disdain for the living, or in the case of Anne Rice's Louis, a self-hatred that lingers for what feels like forever sometimes. Here's the problem. The limited nature of life is what gives it meaning. The urgency created by our awareness that we are going to die makes us act, forces us to think about things like legacy, pushes us to try new things and take some risks now. Not tomorrow, now. Not next year, now. And as we get older, that urgency becomes more pressing. If we had unlimited time, there would be no need to act now. You could try scuba diving sometime in the next decade or so. Same diff. In fact, the equipment might be easier to use in 10 years. Or 100. So, nap time? No. You have to do it today. Because in 10 years, you might not be able to do it. And in 100 years, you won't be here. Yeah. You'll be dead. And by then, scuba will be out of reach. And you'll be out of reach of the sun. Speaking of the sun, the symbol of the sun is really important here. The typical vampire cannot go out in sunlight. I'm not dealing here with Twilight. Sunlight is the source of all life on the planet. No sun, no plants grow. No plants grow, no animals. And the entire system literally goes dark. No life, no sun, no growth, no evolution. Nothing new to see here. The sun is a symbol of truth and enlightenment. Vampires tend to have trouble with growth and evolution, and they tend to stay stuck in their own heads forever, a product of their own time and place. And even in the more modern stories, they have serious trouble finding meaning. They cannot answer existential questions like, why am I here? What is the point? What will be remembered about me when I'm gone? Will anyone really care? Have I made a positive difference? What makes me happy that isn't destructive? Remember, people who are happy because others are suffering are called mentally ill. So vampires are mentally ill. Just a thought. So, although the aging process sucks, the aging process is a gift that we can use if we so choose. It presses us to find and create meaning in our lives because it makes us take action today. We have to hug our kids and kiss our partners and tell our friends and family we love them before we hit the road on the next great adventure. And we have to go on that great adventure today because tomorrow might not be there. The hero's journey is waiting for us all in different ways at different times in our lives. We have to be willing to leave the comfort of the city or the house or whatever your safe space is, mentally, emotionally, or physically. And today is the best day to set out. Grab some supplies and your most comfortable walking shoes because the journey may be long and it will definitely be hard. You will fail along the way, but you can pick yourself up and take the next step anyway. Do it today because you are not immortal. You don't want to be immortal. And tomorrow, you'll be another day older whether you start the adventure or not. Let me know what you think, and please subscribe. And also check out my website, babylontobosons.com. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great week.